मतलब जैसे
तो
अगर कुछ हैप्पी सीन्स है तो वो
या
अलग लाइटिंग होगी, और अगर कुछ डार्क सा सीन है तो उसमें अलग लाइटिंग होगी। तो
so it means you can say that the lighting reflects the psychology of characters, right?
यस सर, यस।
Yet in nutshell, you can say that the lightning reflects the psychology of the characters. It depict the mood, right? Which kind of the mood that the character have, in which situation that character have, right? So through lighting, you can create it, right? So lights is not only for the illumination की सिर्फ exposure के light use कर रहे हैं. So light through the light you can create a mood, right? The second one, जैसे एक लाइन में lighting reflect the psychology of your character. The second one, anyone have? सबके पास कुछ ना कुछ होगा. बताओ कोई आइडिया.
Basically, cinema is a play of lighting, so anything that we see eventually ends up on the screen because of a light.
Because yeah, that's the
Yeah,
thing. That's why I told you it's not only
it's
for the
like a heart
exposure
of a
of.
cinema or
It's not
something
only
like
for
that.
the exposure, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Exposure
that's
is
all.
one thing. To visual anything, you need light, right? To see anything, you need light. Apart from that, right? What else is there for
To
which we are
convey
using
certain emotions,
certain
to
emotion? तो अभी वही
to
हमने
build
बता
up
दिया उसको
the,
नटसेल में कि that reflect the psychology of your character. So it could be
yeah,
उसका मूड हैप्पी हो सकता है, डार्क हो सकता है, राइट?
yeah.
वो
It
लोनलीनेस
also
वाली
helps
फील.
in building the momentum of the film or the pace of the film
Pace
sometimes.
of the film. चलिए.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
सर
So one more thing. Through the lighting, क्या ये
सर
होता है कि tell the audience where to look through the lighting,
Yes, sir, it definitely does.
right? So somehow, if your center of interest is one character, have you seen which kind of lightings over there, right? They will not focusing on too much on the background. They make those things darker, that things appear darker, right? When there is a two character within the scene, have you seen there's a two different kind of lighting setup for both character to create separation between those character, right? So as an audience, मैं बताता है कि see things differently. At a same place, people have different kind of lighting. किसी पे देखा होगा तुमने blue light आ रही है, another character have the warm light. So it creates separation between those two character, right? So
Yes,
through the lighting, क्या let's give your audience the information कि where to look, कि कहाँ देखना है आपको और किस part में देखना है. So through the lighting you can create those things. Or any other things?
इट कैन ऑल्सो यूज टू क्रिएट डेप्थ बिटवीन
Depth, yeah.
बैकग्राउंड और कैरेक्टर के बीच में।
That's we have discussed. I'm talking about in aesthetic sense. What that was the technical things that we have discussed. Now I'm just asking for the when you are choosing the light, right? जैसे कि मैंने कहा उसका aesthetic क्या है, right? So on that note, how we are using light. So in third one, you can say that let's define the and support the genre of the film
yes, sir.
through lighting. Sorry, through the lighting, genre decide होता है. Film noir की which kind of lighting film noir have? Have you seen how much contrast it is?
Yes, sir.
सर हाई
Right?
कॉन्ट्रास्ट।
Yeah, high contrast. Have you seen rom-com movies, the comedies film, the romantic films? Have you seen those with kind of
Yeah, very
lightings over there?
bright
It's
and
very,
pastel.
yeah, very lighter because the mood and movement is lighter. That's the reason. Have you seen horror films? Which kind of lighting it is, right? So through the lighting, you can create the sense of that genre, right? कि which genre's film it is. आप lighting देख के समझ जाओगे किस genre की film है ये. या पर्टिकुलर सीन उस तरीके की लाइटिंग की हुई है थ्रू विच यू कैन क्रिएट दोज थिंग्स. तो लाइटिंग से क्या हो रहा है? इट्स आल्सो डिसाइड द जोनर. सो लाइटिंग इज नॉट ओनली फॉर द लुमिनेंस की आपको एक्सपोजर सेट करने लाइटिंग हेल्प करता है. देयर इज अ मेनी एस्पेक्ट ऑफ लाइटिंग, राइट? सो ये 3 points that I've told you. There will be many points you guys have maybe later it comes in your mind. Once you start watching films, you got to know that how lighting play a vital role. Because look, in films, actor have the things, actor have the dialogues, right? art director have the properties to say the story, costume have the costume things, right? Makeup have the makeup things to create that genre, that era, or that, mood or that particular event, right? But when it comes for the visual treatment, DOP have what? क्या होता है DOP के पास?
Sir, lights.
Only lights. You are working with a good director, they have already written their shot size. You लिखा होता है स्क्रिप्ट में कि mid shot, closer, wide shot, right? Already they have write it down. अगर अच्छा actor है, right? So one thing that is in your hand is your lighting. That's the visual medium through which you can convey those emotions, those particular events. So that's the things when it's come for the lighting, you must have to know what the aspect of lighting. So that's the reason yesterday someone asked me ki itni sari there is a light, so few lights that you can discuss. So right now, the things is before discussing it, you must have to know that ki which kind of scene or which kind of your shoot they're gonna shoot it, right? Ki which kind of scene or short films or whatever that you are gonna shoot, कि जो आप shoot करने जा रहे हैं. So firstly, what we did a Reiki over there before shooting, right? Once you read the script and everything. So in Reiki, you got to know the whatever in a script, is it possible to shoot there or not? So that's the reason. In the first Reiki, went with along with sound person, art director, and the director. The reason is the sound person also comes to know that if you are doing the on location sound, is it possible to do over here or not, right? So अगर possible नहीं है तो he will just ask the art director ki fill up the areas because there's a too many echo sound is over here, right? So you come in first take you are not finding the lights, but somehow you just got to know that ki yeah, this particular scene is possible to shoot over here, right? Then the second one is that's called the technical Reiki. That's done by the DOP, right? At that point of time, you just decided, being a DOP, you just decided which kind of light that you're gonna use. So whether, ऐसे मैंने कहा कि in terms of quality, the four things that I have already discussed, that's the attributes of light, right? क्या क्या है वो? If you guys remember, I discussed 5 points, but just right now, just tell me the 4 points only. तो यार क्या क्या है? Aspects of lighting that we have discussed, man.
Sir, psychology of character or emotion.
No, 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 not right now. The aspect of lighting that I have discussed, it's just the intensity, the quality,
अच्छा, direction and color.
color, direction, or texture, right? So in this one, when you are deciding the light, which light you wanted to use, so according to अभी हमने क्या कहा कि genre decide हो जाता है, right? So suppose for an example, it's a dark theme, right? कोई dark theme की फिल्म है, कोई horror genre की फिल्म है, ये काफी suspense वाली फिल्म है. Which kind of light that you wanted to do? कैसे
सर,
लाइटिंग करना चाहोगे?
सर हाई
low
कॉन्ट्रास्ट
key.
वाली.
High contrast, right? So it means now you have to decide key quality of light, right? Intensity is different things, right? If the area is bigger, so you got to know that we need a more intensity of light, right? But the first thing that comes in your mind is the quality, right? Quality means either it will soft or it will hard, right? या तो ये सॉफ्ट होगा या हार्ड होगा, उसको डिफाइन कर देते हैं हम. इट्स कॉल्ड हाई की लाइटिंग और लो की लाइटिंग. इट्स कॉल्ड high key lighting or low key lighting. Every time then go with the high contrast, low contrast. It means high key or low key. High key means there will be less contrast. Low key means there will be high contrast. ये एग्जांपल से देखते हैं. क्या कह रहे? High key lighting is a style of lighting for film, television or photography that aims to reduce the lighting ratio present in the scene. वो क्या lighting ratio means ratio between key and fill light, right? So क्या होता है high key में? There will be low contrast. तो low contrast होगा तो क्या होगा? Key and fill के बीच का differences जो है वो कम होगा, right? So that will create the low contrast. तो क्या कहते हैं, रोम कॉम फिल्म से ऐसी फिल्म हम क्या यूज करते हैं, वी आर यूजिंग लेस कॉन्ट्रास्ट, राइट। तो सी भैया, एक फेस वाला कोई इमेज देखते हैं। सो दिस इमेज, क्या है इस इमेज में? Do you feel any kind of contrast?
नो सर।
In terms of lighting, there's no contrast, right? So you can say that it's the high key lighting. In high key lighting, there is a less contrast, basically. यहाँ कोई contrast is very flat. So which kind of mood it depict? ये कैसा mood लग रहा है इसमें तुम्हें अभी? So just not in terms of films only. वैसे normal ऐसे photograph देखें, what you feel about these things?
सर काफी
happy
हैप्पी।
light.
Happy light, right? Light movement, happily movement, right? ऐसा ही दिखेगा ना? So it means जो ऐसी lighting होगी, that the kind of high key lighting, whether there's a low contrast. So through high key lighting, it will also create a mood of that particular scene or the psychology of that particular character, right? See, there's no shadows at all. There's a position, just देख लो क्या होता है इसमें. Key and fill have the more or less have the same intensity when you are doing the key, sorry, high key lighting. देख रहे हैं लगभग सब में बराबर की लाइट है. Now see another image. You guys क्या करें? The relative strength of key to fill, known as the lighting ratio, can be measured using a light meter. Low key lighting has a higher lighting ratio, that is 8:1, than high key lighting, which can approach 1:1 or 1:1, basically. The term low key used in cinematography for any scene with a high lighting ratio, especially if there is a predominance of shadows area. Now see this one, some film आए की बात कर रहे थे. So you guys know that the lighting ratio, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What does 8:1 means?
Um,
Yeah, Gautam? What does 8:1 means?
Key is 8 times, like it's basically 8 times, or like 1 of 8 is fill light. The
8
strength
time
of a key light to fill light, basically.
key light to fill light. So it means your key light is 8 time higher than your fill light, right?
Yes, sir.
Your key light is 8 time higher than your fill light now. So in terms of aperture, अब कितना stop difference हो गया? Now in terms of lighting, that's the lighting ratio, right? In terms of stop, how much difference it is between key and fill?
4 stops.
No, 3 stop.
Oh,
How
yeah,
it will
yeah.
be 4 stop? Don't get confused here. Again, I have already explained it to you guys. I have told you in terms of exposure, when there is a compensation, when either you are increasing it or either you are decreasing it, it will be half or double. It will be half or double. If you are decreasing it, it will be half. If you are increasing it, it will become double. Right?
Yes, sir.
So when there is a 2:1 means what? your key light is double the fill light, right? Your key is double the fill light, right?
Yes, sir.
So suppose
Yeah.
for an example, if your fill is, sorry, if your key light is 5.6, your fill will be 4, right? One stop difference. One stop difference means what? Either it will be half or double. So दोनों है ना यहाँ पर. In terms of key light is double the fill, right? And fill light half of the key light, right? यही है ना?
Yes, sir.
So it means when there is a one stop, it means there is a 2:1 की lighting है. In terms of lighting ratio, there is a 2:1, right? Again, just related, फिर मैं कह रहा हूँ. So suppose for an example, if your key light is 1000 watt, right? And there's only one stop difference, and you can say that it's a 2:1 key lighting, and now your fill will be 500. So what's it become? 2:1, right? 2:1, and in terms of a stop, one stop, right? So now if I said ki two stop difference, it means what? Two stop difference means 4:1.
Yes, sir.
Two stop difference means is it 4:1 or not?
Yes, sir.
Because again, it's the 500 watt. So what it become? It become 250 because halving the amount, or either if you are doubling it, that 1000 become 2000.
Yes, sir.
If you are doubling it, that 1000 become 2000. So 500 to 2000. How much difference it is? 4:1. It's a 4:1 ना. 2000 and 500. क्या हो गया ratio? 4:1,
4:1.
right?
Yes.
Or either you just leave that key light on 1000 and your fill will be 250. Again, it will be 4:1.
4:1.
So either it will be you are increasing the key, or either you are decreasing the fill. It doesn't matter, right? Stop will remain same. Either it will be half or double. Calculation will remain same. Now it's become 4:1, right? 4:1 means what? Two stop. Now I am asking for the three stop. क्या होगा अब? Three stop means lighting ratio will be
8:1.
8:1. That's the things. That's the things. नहीं याद हो रहा है, 3 or 4 टाइम इसको कम से कम practice कर लो, लिख लो. One stop means what? Two stop means. A stop means very simple. If you are increasing it, it will become double. If you are decreasing it, it will become half. Even that kind of question is coming in MCQ or MSQ. They will give you the certain amount of aperture, certain number of aperture, certain number of ISO, and certain number of shutter speed. And they will ask you at the again they will give you some different numbers, and they ask you what will be the IF number and what will be the shutter speed to get the same exposure. If you guys have ever read previous year questions, किसी ने पढ़ा है?
Yes, sir.
So,
क्या ऐसा क्वेश्चन था? देखा है ये क्वेश्चंस हैं?
yes,
They will
sir.
give
Yes,
you
sir.
the पूछता है, सॉल्व किया है,
Yes, sir.
किया है सॉल्व. तो उसमें कंफ्यूज, अगर सॉल्व किया तो कंफ्यूज हुए होगे फिर. Because if they are numbering there ki sorry, if they are numbering your shutter speed like 1/40, right? Suppose for an example. So one stop will be 180. Not don't go with the 100 कि अरे कैमरा में तो 100 होता है, 1/50. वो 50 का 100 है. Whatever number is given over there, if they are giving shutter speed is 60, doubling will be 120, not 200, not 100, right? Aperture, you know the numbers. For the aperture, universal, you know the number, right? 1 and 1.4 से double करते जाए, you know the numbers. But in terms of shutter or ISO, if they are giving you 120, now the one stop means, one stop if you are increasing, it's become 240, or either if you are decreasing, it become 110. Don't get confused कि 100, 200, 400 ऐसे चलते. No. Whatever number will be there, you have to calculate according to that.
Sir, ISO
Yeah.
100 and 200 is the another stop. So
Yeah, 200 is
nowadays,
another.
nowadays our cameras have 125 and all. It's all
Yeah, yeah,
comes under one stop only.
yeah.
So
So
if
the things,
in the question paper, if they are mentioning 125 means, we how should we take it as?
125, because they are giving you that at that point of time they are getting exact exposure, right? 125. So if you are considering it, it become 250.
Okay, so
Instead
the
of
250 is the
250.
next stop.
Yeah. Then
Okay,
whatever the doubling, it will be to a stop. Don't get
okay, okay.
confused. Sometimes they ask for the shutter speed like that. So you can't write down in pointer, right? 0.5.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
0.5 means another number. So if it will be the
Okay, okay,
65, right? Sorry, 64.5, write 65. Just for your shutter speed, like the shutter speed. Shutter speed 50 का आधा क्या हुआ? 25. 25 का क्या हुआ? 12.5. No, write it 13.
okay,
Write it 13, not 12.5. That will be wrong.
okay, sir. Okay,
Because 0.5 mathematical है ना, after 5 is you just counted another number. दूसरे
okay,
नंबर को काउंट कर लेते हो तो द नेक्स्ट नंबर, सो इट विल बी 13 not 12 बेसिकली. कम नहीं जाएगा, it will be 13 like that. But whatever, in today's DSLR cameras, the reason is because they know that exactly if you are doubling it, you get more grains. So that's the reason they just give you the 3 stop, 4 stop numbering over there, right? कि 2 से 240 चले जाओ, 50 चले जाओ, so they will give you the liberty over there. But if you are getting your perfect exposure on 220, suppose for an example, if you are getting, just listen it carefully, if you are getting your perfect exposure according to your light meter on 220, right? 220 पे मिल रहा है. Now you wanted to use one stop anti filter. You wanted to use at that point of time, when you fix one anti filter, you are getting perfect exposure at 220. Now you wanted to increase your frame rate, and whatever things in one stop you wanted to compensate, right? You wanted to remove your ND filter and whatever. Now the thing is that you have to decrease light by one stop. So whether you are on 220, right? In ISO, you are on 220 when you are using ND filter and you are getting perfect exposure, right? So now you have to make that ISO on 110, not 100. Because on 220, right,
half,
you are getting
half.
perfect exposure. So when you are compensating it, you have to compensate it from that number only, not whatever the exact number over there, right? On what was the number you are compensating it, through where you just compensate it, you will get the exact number. और अगर नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, you can practice it with your camera. You just take the spot metering of something and just try to compensate with the ISO. 220 पे 240, that some even odd numbers, take some odd numbers of ISO or shutter speed and try to manage it in a spot metering, try to take it on perfectly exposed somehow by the aperture or shutter speed, or compensate with the ISO. कि जब one stop करते हो तो what you feel that that light meter is just compensating one stop or not. So try to do those things. But the thing is that this is very simple. Whatever number they have written over there, you have to compensate from there only. Don't get with your camera like 100, 200 for a note. Don't go with that. Whatever number is written over there, just do according to that. So अभी इस टॉपिक कोई confusion नहीं है. So now you can see it over here. कि whatever lighting ratio in key and fill, you can write it down. अगर मान लो sometimes that kind of question comes, okay, because if there's a high key lighting, there's a low contrast, so lighting ratio will be less. Ratio means is the 1:1, 1:2. It means 1:1 means what? 1:1 means totally flat. 2:1 means less contrast, right? One there is 8:1. It means 3 stop difference is there, right? No. So at that point of time, you can see which kind of contrast is over here. I'm not telling you it's the 3 stop difference only, but see the differences. See the contrast. See, by looking these images, which kind of emotions that you feel? Do you feel the same things that you have felt when you are seeing those pictures? That was flat. It's a little more suspicious.
Yeah, very dramatic.
Yeah, dramatic, suspicious, right? So now through the lighting, you are just create the mood, right? Or you just convey the psychology of the characters or the situations. लग रहा है ना? Through which. So lighting का जो ये part है, right? The thing is that why I'm explaining it. Once you are explaining films, you're right, or in terms of cinematography, once you are explaining it, right, you can write down those elements. If such kind of lighting is ever there, which kind of mood through which that light, through that types of lighting created, right? कि कैसा किया था मैंने एक फिल्म अभी आप लोगों को बोला था देखने के लिए दैट्स बाईपास इट्स 20 मिनट्स फिल्म ऑनली हम सबने देखी है
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
कैसी लगी फिल्म जस्ट रिव्यू बताना इन टर्म्स ऑफ सिनेमेटोग्राफी अगर देखिए गौर से तो देयर इज मेनी थिंग्स टू लर्न कि मेटाफर कैसे यूज किया जाता है अगर फिर से देखो फिर से समझो फिल्म से देयर इज मेनी पॉइंट्स ऑन व्हिच यू कैन डिस्कस है ना कि व्हाई देयर इज नो साउंड व्हाई देयर इज नो डायलॉग्स व्हाई देयर इज नो डायलॉग्स कहीं पर डायलॉग नहीं है देयर इज नो डायलॉग्स एट ऑल है ना somehow the framings properties and everything how they used it I think 1 or 2% have sent me only अगर आपने नहीं देखा है फिर से देखो but see to it so yeah moral of the story यहाँ आते हैं अभी चलिए विजिबल पीपीटी दिख रहा है ना आप लोगों को
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So now the thing is that अब यहाँ आते हैं कि when you are deciding which kind of light you wanted to use, मैंने क्वेश्चन यहाँ डाल दिया है कि ask before ending a film, right? कि आप क्या पूछ सकते हैं खुद से कि हमें क्या क्या चाहिए क्या नहीं चाहिए तो फर्स्ट थिंग दैट आई हैव डिस्कस इज कि क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइट कि विच काइंड ऑफ लाइट दैट यू वांट in terms of quality you want that kind of soft light or hard light right if it will be soft you can use certain led lights very soft kind of lights but if you want that hard light you wanted to create that kind of hard patches at the you wanted to create that kind of contrast at that point of time you need some hard light means in terms of quality I'm not talking about in terms of intensity right intensity depend how much light you wanted to use right how much brightness how much things that you wanted but in terms of quality you must have to decide because through led light you want able to create that kind of contrast right कि led काफी soft light produce करती है so उससे नहीं हो पाएगा तो you need certain conventional light right so that's the one thing the another things कि which kind of or how much area that you are shooting, right? कि तुम्हें जो एक light है मान लो suppose for that things, we have to decide one thing, कि what should be the beam of light? Beams of the how spread it will be, how it will be spreaded. Light के ray में और beam में क्या difference है? The single straight line जो travel करती है, that is called ray, right?
Yes, sir.
Rays of light make a beam, right? Many rays of light make beam of it, right? So every light have the certain beam angle. If you are using your like torch you have used torch right so torch का एक certain beam angle होता है ना so just like that in our cinema lights it has started from the 25-degree angle to 360-degree 25 degree to 360 degree so which kind of beam angle you want अगर तुम्हें mid shot ही shoot करना है वेस्ट तक ही shoot करना है तो you can use some laser beam which light have, right? Just like a come beam hoga. If you wanted to shoot something that's a bigger areas, right? So you need that kind of light जिसका कि 260 270 के kind of जाए. कुछ moonlight effect if you want, you have to use that kind of light, right? So now you can ask कि यार ये 360 कैसे हो सकता है beam? Is it possible? 360 angle?
No, it's not possible.
Yeah, it's possible. Here it is.
Okay.
This is called China ball, through which you can create it. So from 25-degree angle to 360, you can create it. Now the things you can ask, no bulb to कोई एक ही होगा ना उसके अंदर. But the things is that I told you earlier, when you are using any material, diffusion material or any seed, now that diffusion material become your source, right? Just like when there is a cloud, at that point of time, cloud becomes source. Cloud हो जाता है ना source. So that's the reason it's become very softer, right? So now if you use that kind of diffusion material and make it circle, तो वो light circle में जाएगी. ऊपर भी तो जाएगी ही ना light. If you are using that kind of things, it will go on top or not? Obviously जाएगा ना.
Yes, sir.
So that's the things. Firstly, you have to decide what should be the beam angle of a light. कि light का beam angle क्या होना चाहिए? It should be 25, 40, 60. It will increase also in some lights. कि ये बढ़ता भी है. कि light का beam angle क्या होना चाहिए. So first thing that you have to decide कि beam लेके चलते हैं. Now see, this one is a beam. पढ़ लीजिए एक बार. Okay. The things is that once there is a China ball kind of light, it's very difficult to control it, right? कि बहुत सारी चीजें लगेगी to control those things. But if there is a certain angle of light, suppose go 40 degree, 50 degree, certain 60 degree, you have more control on that light, right? You can cut the light properly. You can, from where you want it to cut, you can cut it, right? From the spreading or unnecessary spilling of light, you can cut it. But in China ball, it's very difficult at this kind of light. Larger the angle, beam angle, आपके लिए डिफिकल्ट होगा उसको काटना. यू नीड बिगर कटर, बिगर थिंग्स, राइट? सो इट्स टोटली डिपेंड कि हाउ मच एरिया दैट यू वांटेड टू लिट अप. बीम एंगल समझ गए? दिस इज ऑल अगेन. वन सेकंड, वन सेकंड. क्या कर रहे हैं? What is the output of the light? If you are not familiar with the lighting, you might assume that the higher the output, the better the light is. But that's not really how it is. Brighter light like this are greater for illuminating large areas, but they tend to be larger, hotter, and more expensive. If you are shooting in a small area, you probably don't need a light with a high output. Other things to consider is how well your circuits can handle the output of your light. So if you are shooting at home, you may want to stay away from high voltage light. Okay, कही रहा है कि आपका output क्या? The first things कि how much, so it's a payload capacity and that kind of things. If you are using that the high voltage light like the HMR, that kind of light, you are not, it's not kind of plug and play, right? You have to take output from your main meters, from where they just take that output, then use it in blast and like that, right? So it's not the plug and play like the LED, 240 watt LED, 40 watt LED, you can fix anywhere, right? In any output. But suppose if the light is, even light is 1K or 2K, you need the bigger extension, bigger power point basically. That in our household, most of the time, you can see those power plug-in, 2000, more than 2000 ampere, 2200 ampere. For the fridge, we are using it, right? For the washing machine, we are using it. Not everywhere in home. Have you seen that in your home? Everywhere that kind of power plug? Or the charger power plug is over there. The charging point is there, right? but more of the charging point is 1000 वाला होता है और वही होता है, right? But for the fridge, we use another one, right? For fridge, for washing machine, we use that kind of power socket. So even you are using the 1K light, we need that kind of holders over there. So if you are shooting indoor, you must have to just make sure that what is the power capacity of that particular area, right? Or is that plug-in, power plug is working properly or not? Suppose ऐसा हुआ तुमने लगाया, they have laser ampere, तो वो क्या होगा, शॉर्ट सर्किट होगा. That's the things, right? So it means basically you must have to figure it out when you are using those light, and you are using that internal areas, not external power source like generator or anything else. At that point of time, हम क्या करते हैं, shoot से पहले we go with the electrician and check out everything. Even we just check the payload capacity of it. Sometimes what happened, he suppose you just hired the place on rent, right? ये पूछा नहीं जाएगा, but I just share my experience, guys. I'm just sharing it. कि you just take rented over some place to shoot for 8 hours, 9 hours, and it's some private space. It's not the commercial space. So at that point of time, they are just paying 5 rupees or 6 rupees kilowatt per unit, right? But once they have certain pay capacity, right, 2 kb, 4 kb, but you are using HMN and anything for the 8 hours and 10 hours, 15 hours. Now what happened? Payload से ऊपर बढ़ जाएगा. Now you have to pay per unit 20 rupees or 25 rupees. So things happen with me. So once you are using those areas, just say the pay capacity of that particular place. और ये कुछ नहीं होता, just take ask him for the previous year, sorry, previous month, that the bill on which everything is mentioned over there, and just see how much light that you are using. So that's the reason when you are for the technical Reiki, at that point of time you name every lights ki 2 multi, 2 baby, 4 HMI, so through which you can calculate how much power that you are consuming at once, right? So if you are not using that area, so according to that, you can calculate, you can ask production to use some generator. That generator have that much of power, right? इतना output मैं use कर रहा हूँ, तो generator मुझे इतना kV का चाहिए. That much of kV generator power have. So we are using external source to fix it. Now things is that you are shooting daylight or tungsten, that we have discussed. Ki all light have a color temperature, and it's up to you figure out which light will give you the look you want to particular scene. Light that are lower on the Kelvin scale, 1000 to 5000, look very warm in color. Orange amber light, while other light that are higher on a scale, 6000, 10,000, they look very cool. Blue, purple, and also think about how you will combine lights. Are you going to use other fixture with different color temperature? Or there going to be particular light in your scene? If you are going to be using a lot of different color temperature in your project, you might want to go with the bicolor mixture. The thing is, अगर तुम्हें पूरा पता है, right, you have to shoot in daylight conditions, you'll go with the daylight balanced light, right? If you know that you are shooting the tungsten balance, तुम्हें indoor ही दिखाना है, तो you go with the tungsten. But if you wanted to create some dramatic lighting effect, right? So you wanted to mix up it, warm and cool, that kind of light you wanted to mix. So instead of taking one light that is daylight, another light that is warm light, use the fixture that have bicolor balance, right? Fixture that we use the light which have the bicolor, means as well as tungsten as well as daylight, you can balance it. But one more thing, when you are using a fixture that have the daylight and tungsten balance, right? जिस भी लाइट में, सपोज यू आर यूजिंग एनी लाइट्स दैट हैव 240 watt की लाइट है कोई भी, राइट, सपोज फॉर एन एग्जांपल, that have the mix like the daylight and color temperature, there will be less intensity, obviously, because उसमें क्या होता है, half of the bulb for the daylight, half of the for the tungsten. So that's the reason वो daylight to tungsten वो mix up नहीं होता है. Daylight to tungsten have the certain bulb of it. Now, तो कभी भी जब ये मिक्सिंग वाले कलर्स होंगे, बाय कलर्स होंगे, दैट हैव द bit less intensity than the other light source.
Sir, what you said, I didn't get it.
When you are
Color.
using that kind of light, na, suppose अभी जो ये light आ रहे हैं, daylight and colored balance, right?
Yeah.
Daylight and tungsten, as well as daylight as well as the tungsten, right? So you are using that light, when you are using that light, when you are using the daylight, suppose there is a 4000 LED inside it, right? Suppose 4000 LED inside. So there's a 2000 for the daylight, 2000 for the tungsten, basically. They are not changing wavelength. They are not changing wavelength. I'm talking about the Godox and that kind of light. They are not changing wavelength. You are just supposed to using another LEDs over there, right? But in a sky panel, other light have that kind of capacity. They change the wavelength. But most of the LEDs, the cheap LEDs have, when you are using daylight to tungsten balanced, suppose in one lighting, it means they are using, suppose they are using 2000 LED bulb inside. So 1000 for the daylight and 1000 for the tungsten basically.
So actually the 1000 lights only working.
Yeah,
You
1000
can
lights are only working, but that's very teeny small. So you are not getting it that is working or not.
okay.
That's the things. One second. One second. Yes. Okay, now. What is the color quality of the light? It means your CRI, ki how color rendering basically, ki you are getting a skin tone or not with that light. और पढ़ लीजिए. So that's the one reason. Still, people are using conventional light. That's the one reason. Because many LEDs that is cheaper, they are not giving you the proper CRI. If you guys have ever used that the Godox light and that kind of light, if anyone have you using professionally, कोई किसी ने use किया professionally उसे Godox or that kind of light? Anyone of you have ever used Godox, LC, that kind of light? किसी ने
So
use
once
किया? Do you feel the difference once you are shooting with that light in the daylight that you have shooted? In terms of a skin tone, in terms of color, have you feel the differences? Using the same camera you are shooting, right? But you feel that something is missing in terms of skin tone. You are not getting it perfectly or properly. The colors of person or the either the color of costumes and anything else. The reason that light don't have the proper CRI because very cheap, I know 4,000, 3,000, 4,000. They are selling it. So they are not worrying about the color temperature. They are not worrying about the CRI basically. They are worrying about the exposure ki dikh jana chahiye. That's it. But our conventional light or the company, the branded light like the Arri, the Eka, जो कंपनियां जो बनाती हैं अच्छे, they are soon will, right? Even the Aperture right now, Aperture is good company that they are making. Aperture अच्छी company है, right? But I'm sorry, I'm just naming those companies. कि गोडॉक्स का हाँ है बट गोडॉक्स की क्वालिटी थोड़ी सी वैसी है बट अपर्चर nowadays is in terms of LEDs they have the well balanced color correction light basically they have the proper CRI. Better than that there's another company called Soonwell, right? Soonwell have the good qualities of CRI basically. Yeah, it's more important things. Does that light make any noise or not? If you are using on location sound, right? At that point of time, if you're using blast or anything else, is that things making sound or not? अगर वो sound बनाएगा, you are not able to use location sound. Even then, when we are using on location sound, at that point of time, we are more worrying about the grip also. You can't fix anything that is open, like the open cloth, like open any diffusion material, because if there is a wind, uska sound hoga. So at that point of time, if there is on location sound, things have been changed. According to that, you have to rented out those things.
So the color of the light decides the texture of the lighting, right?
Not the texture, color of what? Color, you are asking for the color temperature or color
No,
quality?
no. The aspects of light, there is a texture,
Aspects
no,
of
sir.
like color is either it will be tungsten, either it will be daylight, or either it will be fluorescent. Either it will be warmer in terms of
Okay,
3200.
no, I am asking this decides the texture of the lighting. What?
Not the texture, not the texture. Texture
In
is
as
something different.
okay, in aspects of light, there is a texture, no. So I am asking
No,
what? Oh,
texture is something. Look, basically, when we are talking about the texture, basically, we are talking about the feel of something, right?
yeah.
Surface, feel of
So if
something, surface of, right?
okay,
When I
so
will
in a
ask you, when I'll ask you, your
mm,
phone is in your hand, right? Just
yeah,
hold it. I will ask you the texture. You can say it's the matte finish, right? So textured, we are talking about when you are feel something surface of it, right? So when we
okay.
are talking about the sorry, the lighting or through the lighting when you create texture, so basically in terms of whole scene, which kind of texture that is created by light? Suppose karo, some mistiness, fog से light आ रही है, right?
Okay,
Fog से
okay.
light है, smoke से light आ रही है, which kind of texture it will produce? Or very dust and dirt से light आ रही है, which kind of texture it will be produce? कैसा texture होगा? When the light is coming through the smoke or fog, which kind of texture it will be?
Okay, sir.
Or if there's a nothing within your scene, right? At that point of time, is it clear or not? And also same point of time, right? That's also create a texture through the light. The same point of time, which kind of shadows your light is making. Every time the shadow will not remain same. It's totally depend upon which kind of diffuser you are using or which kind of light that you are using. कभी किसी शेड के नीचे रहे हो? Have you seen the different kind of texture, different kind of shadows on your face? Right? When there's very loomy cloud, at that point of time, have you seen your texture? Is it same? I'm talking about your face or shadows. Is it same? When you are
Yes,
in
sir.
direct sunlight, at that point of time, have you seen your texture of your shadows? Is it change
Yes,
or not?
yeah.
Yes, sir.
It's keep changing. It's totally depend upon. कभी किसी टेंट हाउस के नीचे आ जाओ सनलाइट के टाइम पे. Have you feel the differences? कभी टेंट हाउस के नीचे सनलाइट में आ जाओ. You
So
feel the texture have been changed. The shadows texture have been changed. And that's also created by using different kind of diffuser materials. It's also create a texture, right? So that's the reason there is a variation of diffuser material. कि
so
कोई एक
if you are using like the China ball kind of thing, the texture cannot be seen, no, sir.
texture cannot be seen because
Yeah.
look at that point of texture will be there. There will be less shadows. There will be shadows. So that's the reason we are using fill light. No,
Okay.
that's why we are using fill light. No, there will be if you are using China ball on the top of it kind of butterfly kind of shadows will be there. Nose ka shadow thoda niche aayega. But if you use something bouncing from the lens axis, वो fill हो जाएगा. So now there is no shadows at all. Then there is no shadows at all. But when you are using China ball, you will use the above the character, right? So any light that will be the above the character, it will form shadows of your nose, right? Nose का shadow बनाएगा ना नीचे. You can fill it up. So there will be texture, or it means when you are talking about this one, the previous one image that I have shared you, right? There's no shadows at all. So there's no texture. In terms of shadows, there is no texture. In previous one, when I was discussing that things, high key lighting have the low contrast. Have you seen two boys was there in green t-shirt? I was talking about that elements. You got that point? In previous PPT that I have shown you guys. जिसमें दो लड़के थे high key lighting, low contrast.
Yeah.
You got that, no? That one.
Yeah.
That was no texture. So in terms of shadows, also there is a texture. And in surroundings, you can create texture through the light. You suppose the midnight foggy days, train is coming. Have you seen the texture of it? That's also the texture. Mist have different texture. Fog have different texture. Smoke have different texture. That texture comes from light basically. है ना? वो light के कारण texture बनता है. If there is a no light, you can't find the texture in smoke, texture in shadow, sorry, fog. Even you can find texture of water when you are doing some backlight. Front light kitna bhi kar do, either it's smoke, it's water, or anything else. Anything that is liquid or that the fog or smoke kind of things, it need backlight to get the texture of out of it. कल एक काम करना, प्रैक्टिकल करना, वाटर के ऊपर सामने से लाइट देनी, यू कांट फाइंड टेक्सचर ऑफ वाटर. तो वाटर ऐसे जो भी चीजें है ना, वॉट एवर थिंग्स, राइट, चाहे वो आपका फॉग हो, स्मोक हो या फिर वाटर हो, सब में बैकलाइट से ही उसका टेक्सचर दिखाई देता है. बात है. ओके, हम बात करते हैं टाइप्स ऑफ लाइटिंग. तो बेसिकली देयर इज ओनली 3 or 4 काइंड ऑफ लाइट दैट वी आर यूजिंग बेसिकली. जो लाइट की वो होगी, either it will be tungsten, either it will be daylight, either it will fluorescent, और चौथा क्या है जो अभी चल रहा है, द फोर्थ वन,
LED.
एलईडी, राइट. सो यही 4 चीजें हैं. But there is a variation. So tungsten is for tungsten lighting. Kits for film and video production have been a tried and true industry standard lighting choice for years. They are similar to Sensent filament bulb, common in interior lighting. So they are great choice for interior lighting setup. और पढ़ लीजिए इसे. उसे इतने डिटेल में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है, बट पढ़ लीजिए. करेक्ट. सिर्फ आयोडाइन एंड ब्रोमाइन आर यूज्ड इन हैलोजन टंगस्टन बल्ब. 5 यूज नहीं होते, ओनली 2 यूज्ड. सॉरी, मैं दिखा देता हूँ बल्ब होता कैसे है. जस्ट सी टू इट. देखे, वो ये पढ़ लो. द हैलोजन बल्ब कम्स इन 2 बेसिक कॉन्फ़िगरेशन. ये क्या कॉन्फ़िगरेशन हो सकता है? डबल एंडेड हो सकता है और आइदर स्ट्रेट और डबल कॉइल्ड हो सकता है, जो दोनों इसमें आपको मैंने अभी दिखाया है. और क्या लिखा है? द मोस्ट कॉमन हैलोजन लैंप आर डबल एंडेड. They generally are the larger what is a lamp and are used to work lights, yard lights, and film production lamp. The halogen lamp has an instant on ability, unlike mercury vapor and high pressure sodium. The work, the life of halogen lamp is started by frequency of. Okay, 2-3 चीज इसने बताया, इसको डू एंड डोंट में देखते हैं हम. अच्छा, ये फिलामेंट, सॉरी, ये जो टंगस्टन है ये 2 टाइप का होता है. देयर इज 2 टाइप्स ऑफ टंगस्टन. वन इज ओपन फेस्ड, राइट. अनदर इज देयर विल बी फ्रेजनल. ओपन फेस को क्लोज कर देता है. दैट विल मूव सेफ एंड सिक्योर. द रीजन इज, अब दिखाता हूं मैं. दिस वन इज ओपन फेस, राइट. दिख रहा है आपको? दिस वन इज ओपन फेस. द रीजन इज, ये अगर ब्लास्ट होगा, मान लो सपोज बल्ब अगर ब्लास्ट होता है समहाउ, इसमें रिस्क ज्यादा होता है कि क्योंकि कुछ कवर नहीं है. इट विल कम्स आउटसाइड, मेनी टाइम्स इट विल कम्स आउटसाइड, बट होता नहीं अगर जेन्युइन कंपनी का यूज कर, द फिलिप्स एंड ओसराम. इफ यू आर यूजिंग सम लोकल वन, राइट, इट मे बी ब्लास्ट और वो ब्रोकन होके बाहर आ जाएगा. बट इफ यू आर यूजिंग समथिंग दैट इज कंपनी का होता है, ब्रांड का होता है, राइट, सो सिर्फ टंगस्टन विल बी ब्रोकन ओनली, नॉट द होल बल्ब, राइट. बट इफ यू आर यूजिंग सम लोकल वन, द बल्ब ही क्रैक कर जाएगा, सारे एलिमेंट्स विल गेट फ्रॉम देयर, राइट. But if you are using some branded one, only that the tungsten will be broken. And ये fuse होता है, but the life is less, right? Life is less in the sense because बार बार on off करते हो उसे, तो certain hours fix होते हैं इसके, कितने hours तक ही चलेगा ये. After that got fused. It's cheaper but right. fuse जल्दी होता है ये. क्या करें? Open fill fixture used to creating a hard light and dark shadows. It's simple light that consists the housing and reflector for the bulb and not much else. कह रहे इसके अंदर रिफ्लेक्टर होता है जिसको पार भी कहते हैं, बेसिकली पैराबोलिक एल्यूमिनाइज्ड रिफ्लेक्टर भी कहते हैं. दैट्स कॉल्ड द पार. सेकेंड वाला पढ़ लो. अगर it has a lamp with sits in front of reflector, this fixture generally had no focus beam and used no diffusion to control light speed, making them more intense in output and less controllable in beam speed. Accessories such as barn door can include to help control the beam. The commonly known 800 watt and 2000 watt beyond an example of open face video lights. The things is that इसको अगर आप देखोगे गौर से, ये थोड़ी सी अनकंट्रोलेबल होती है, सॉरी कंट्रोल नहीं होती है ये. द रीजन, ये ओपन है बेसिकली. तो लाइट जब ओपन होगी पूरी की पूरी, तो यू नीड टू कंट्रोल इट. सो यू नीड सम एक्स्ट्रा एसेसरीज लाइक द बार्न डोर. इट्स कॉल्ड बार्न डोर. जो ब्लैक वाला आगे लगा हुआ, इट्स कॉल्ड बार्न डोर. सो यू हैव टू फिक्स इट. बट देयर इज अनदर टंगस्टन लाइट, ये ओपन है, in which there is a Fresnel. I'm showing you. It's called Fresnel lens. This one. Okay. So there's a glass one over here through which you can focus the light. You can give your light certain beam, certain angle. So you have more control over it, right? So means both light, if the both light have the same intensity, both light is 1000 watt, right? But when it comes for the punching, right? Which light have the more punching? This light have the more punching. The reason, because there is a lens. It's called the Fresnel lens basically. Even you can make this light as a spotlight because there's a beam of light that is coming. क्योंकि वो स्प्रेड नहीं हो रहा है, रिफ्लेक्ट ज्यादा नहीं हो रहा है, बिकॉज देयर इज अ लेंस. तो लेंस का क्या काम होता है? सबको एक जगह करके उस लाइट को, इट विल मेक अ बीम ऑफ दैट लाइट, राइट? So that's the difference. Both light is tungsten, but if you need more focused light, more spotlight, and more control over light, at that point of time, you can use the light, any tungsten light, which have Fresnel control, or either you can use open Fresnel. है ना? तो open Fres use कर सकते हो this one, or either you can use this one. पढ़ लीजिए एक बार जरा क्या क्या है इसमें. कह रहा है पावर 2000 वॉट, 1000 वॉट भी आते हैं, 1K की भी लाइट आती है, 2K की भी लाइट आती है. 1K में 1 किलो वॉट, 2K में 2 किलो वॉट. बीम एंगल 40, 90 एंड 120. सो इट मींस इसके जो बल्ब हैं, इट कैन कम टुवर्ड्स द लेंस, इट कैन गो बैक टू द लेंस, राइट? तो आगे आएगा तो एंगल विल बी बिगर, पीछे जाएगा तो एंगल विल बी सॉफ्टर. तो नाउ वहां एक वर्ड यूज हुआ था, दे आर यूजिंग, यू कांट मेक इट सॉफ्ट एंड हार्ड. सो द थिंग्स इज दैट I told you earlier, if your source become bigger, what happened in terms of quality? Suppose if your source become bigger, what happened?
Softer light.
Soft. Softer.
Softer the light, right? So now what happened if that light, that bulb is coming towards the funnel, what happened? That the source become bigger?
Smaller.
Source बड़ा हो रहा है ना, राइट? सो क्या होगा वहां पर, जैसे ही बड़ा होगा सोर्स बिकम, बहुत ज्यादा नहीं, देयर इज नो टू मच डिफरेंस, बट लाइक 1 and 2 inch लाइट कैन गो, सॉरी 2 and 3 inch, कि आपका बल्ब मूव करते हैं आगे एंड पीछे, राइट? सो यू कैन से दैट इट्स बिकम सॉफ्टर और हार्डर, यू कैन से दैट, बट नॉट दैट मच, इतना ज्यादा नहीं होता है. बट बीम एंगल कुड बी चेंज, जैसे आगे आएगा एंगल उसका बढ़ जाएगा. सो यू कैन चेंज द बीम एंगल. That won't happen with most of the time the multi. Few multi have this question, but in this kind of light, this में Fresnel है, you can change the angle of it. वो आगे पीछे हो सकता है. This one is वही है, सेम है. इसका क्या है ऐसे Fresnel का? is the 10 to 15 degree halogen based source है 32. DMX क्या होता है basically? DMX होता है, it's called the dimmer on which you can fix your light. So dimmer क्या करता है? It can change your intensity of light. अब 1000 को 2000 नहीं कर देगा, it can dim it out because this light की अपनी capacity नहीं होती. Once it will switch on, 1000 watt दे दिया आपको. So you can fix it on dimmer, that's called the DMX 512, in which you can reduce the intensity. But the thing is that when you are reducing the intensity of any light, क्या होगा बता चुका हूं. What will be affected once you are changing the intensity of light? It means आप light की intensity कम कर रहे हो on dimmer. What happened?
Shadows will be affected.
No, color temperature will be changed. Lower the intensity, lower the color temperature. अब एग्जांपल बताता हूं. कभी अपने घर में टंगस्टन बल्ब के वोल्टेज कम होते हुए देखा है? Have you ever seen? Have you ever seen tungsten bulb when the power is low? Have you seen that? कभी दिखा है बिल्कुल बंद होते हुए पावर कम करते हो टंगस्टन बल्ब को? दैट द फिलामेंट देखा है कभी? इट्स बिकम रेडिश हो जाता है. और किया है?
Yes,
बहुत
sir.
कम होते जो. राइट. So the thing is that when you are lowering the color intensity of light, at that point time you are also lowering the color temperature. Color temperature भी उसका कम हो. That will be affected. ठीक है. जैसे ही आप किसी भी लाइट को डिमर पे रख के कलर टेम्परेचर चेंज करते हैं, एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम यू हैव टू मैनिपुलेट योर व्हाइट बैलेंस टू. वो व्हाइट बैलेंस भी मैनिपुलेट करना पड़ेगा. सो दैट्स द वन थिंग्स. क्योंकि ऐसा नहीं हो सेम रहेगा. डिमर पे जैसे ही कम होगा कलर टेम्परेचर, सॉरी लाइट की इंटेंसिटी, इट विल अफेक्ट योर कलर टेम्परेचर टू. ओके.
Excuse me, sir.
या
Sir, what is that number 512 after DMX? What does that mean?
512 is the numbers, the model number, UX 512.
Okay,
DMX
sir.
512 is dimmer, and every dimmer have the certain capacity. It can only payload capacity basically. That is 10 kilowatt तक की light ले सकता है, 15 kilowatt तक की light. Dimmer didn't mean you can put 100 watt light over there. Different dimmer have the different capacity basically. You can put 10 light over there, you can put 5 light over there, you can put 6 light over there. So that's the DMX 512 on which you can operate this one. This is the model number basically. So on DMX, you just play with lights intensity. You can control those things. You can dim it like if you guys have used LED lights that have the 0 to 100 scale, right? होता है ना? 0 to 100 scale होता है ना? Any LED's light have that kind of control, no? So you can control your light basically that much. Light but not 0 to 100, but certain amount of light you can control it. So that's the things. So कुछ बचा हुआ इसमें. So I think take a 10-minute short break and we'll resume it. इसको finalize करेंगे. Then we have 4 or 5 person who have already sent me those answers. So we'll discuss that one too, right? So
सर वो बाईपास का एनालिसिस भी भेजा है मैंने ईमेल पे. सर आप म्यूट.
sorry. आज सब डिस्कस करेंगे हम जहां तक हो सकता है सब
ओके.
डिस्कस करेंगे. ठीक है. थैंक यू. कहाँ थे भाई व्यूअर्स? On tungsten light, right? So कुछ pros and cons है that we will discuss. कि what the strength of tungsten, the color rendition is close to perfect. Basically CRI is good. So color render जो करेगा that will in terms of skin tone और वो जो आएगा वो perfectly it will come. Cost effectiveness, it's not cheaper basically, but if you compare it with the other conventional light, the cost effective not in terms of light, cost effective in terms of bulb basically, right? कि बल्ब थोड़े सस्ते होते हैं in terms of multi का बल्ब देखोगे it's worth rupees 200 300, but for the another the black one if you are using that bulb it worth rupees 1000 rupees to 1200, right? But many lights इसके बल्ब काफी महंगे होते हैं. The rich full brightness instantly, right? It means you just switch it on और आपका जो भी है रेंज वहां पहुंच जाएगा. Not like the fluorescent or other bulb कि जो धीरे धीरे थोड़ा सा वार्म अप होता है, like the HMI जो धीरे धीरे वार्म अप होता है. It's not like that. वार्म अप नहीं होता, instantly ये पहुंच जाता है whatever the maximum intensity of that light or maximum brightness that the light have. So क्या weakness point ये है, वो तो लगभग होगा. They get extremely hot, yeah. बहुत ज्यादा, not in terms of they produce hot. टेम्परेचर भी आपके रूम का बढ़ाएगा. अनदर सेंस कि यू आर नॉट एबल टू टच दोज लाइट्स, राइट. उसके लिए ग्लव्स या बाकी चीजें आपको लगाना पड़ेगा. दे रिक्वायर अ लॉट ऑफ पावर. जैसे अभी दिखा है कि एक सिंपल सा एक छोटा सा लाइट है, दैट इज 1000 वॉट 2000 वॉट. पावर कंजम्पशन ज्यादा होगा. नॉट एबल टू टच द बल्ब्स, दे आर वेरी सेंसिटिव टू ऑयल. द रीजन, इफ यू होल्ड द बल्ब, जो इसका बल्ब मैंने दिखाया था ना, either this kind of bulb, no? अगर इसको properly hold करते हो, if a hand is, your finger is a bit greasy or the oily kind of, and if you give you a stain or marks on it, or उस पे रह जाएगा, when you switch on it, there is a chances to get it blast. उसके chances भी होते हैं. So hold it properly. Sometimes we are using gloves or hanky or something else, मोटे stuff के कोई hanky या जो होता है, we are using it to hold it properly. Sorry. Okay, an HMI is powerhouse or lamp lighting source that is crucial for lighting outdoors or replicating outdoor light shining into interiors. So basically, the color temperature of your जो HMI है, HMI का जो color temperature होता है near by the sunlight. So it will replicate the effect of sunlight because ये light काफी हैवी होती है इन टर्म्स ऑफ इंटेंसिटी, राइट. सो जैसे कि सनलाइट का पैटर्न बनता है, द पैच ऑफ सनलाइट, बीम ऑफ लाइट, यू कैन क्रिएट दोज थिंग्स विद द हेल्प ऑफ HMI. You are not able to create those things with the LEDs and other soft lights. So that's the reason till now HMI or whatever the conventional light will still exist, because LED or those kind of fixture will not take place of HMI. Because if you want to make those kind of beam of light या फिर कोई एंगल ऐसा कुछ दिखाया at that point of time, LED won't work. LED वैसा नहीं दिखाएगा. If you want that kind of punching in lights, you wanted to show those kind of punching, it's only you can create it through the HMI only, right? जो कि LED अभी तक नहीं आया, maybe somehow in future it will come, हो सकता है, but till now अभी भी जो conventional light है that had that kind of capacity to create those kind of effect. See how bigger areas light up you can with the HMIs. जो पढ़ लीजिए इसे. क्या कह रहा है HMI लफ्ज क्या है? HMI the very net output luminance HMI lamps are capable of between or what up to 4 times that of conventional instant lamp. So are you getting confused with the lumens? That's the brightness basically. Luminance means the brightness, right? So per watt luminance will be कितना हो रहा है 85 to 108. Lumen समझ लो, that's the brightness of any lights. कि that particular lamp जो अभी मेरे रूम में जल रहा है, whatever the household light have the certain luminance, right? कि that bulb have how much capacity to produce that light, right? The brightness area or brightness basically, that's called the lumen. So per watt it's the 85 to 108 lumens. One second, give me one. So in second line, if you're getting confused, मैं एक चीज और बता देता हूँ कि एक जो होता है 1 watt is equal to how much luminance. एक watt में basically कितना दफा the measurement. You can calculate it. It's just the 0.001496. 1 watt have और multiply करना. Suppose you have 50 watt bulb. Calculator किसी के पास? If anyone have calculator, मैं निकाल दूँ.
Yes, sir.
50 को 50 मल्टीप्लाई करो 0.001496.
0.00.
1496.
It comes to 0.0748.
Point
0748.
0.0748, right? So 1 luminance is equal to, अगर वॉट में उसे करोगे तो 1 luminance is equal to 001496 watt basically. तो वॉट से अगर तुम्हें मल्टीप्लाई करना, what will be the luminance of the particular watt? There's 1000 watt, तो कितना होगा? You can calculate it, the luminance. अभी luminance calculate कर सकते हो ना कि 1 luminance is equal to 00 क्या था 001496, right?
Yes, sir.
लिख लो कहीं पर, you guys can write it down कि 1 luminance is just the कि brightness जो light अभी आ रही है, that's the luminance basically. This is the luminance. जो brightness दिख रही है आपकी, that's the luminance, right? So 1 watt में कितना luminance होता है? That's the, oh sorry, 1 luminance is equal to 00496. यही था ना?
1496.
00149, right? 0.001496, that's the watt basically. So you can calculate it. अगर watt दिया हुआ है, if they ask for the what will be the luminance for it, you can calculate it. और एक और चीज कर सकते हो, फुट कैंडल भी है. अगर फुट कैंडल भी पूछता है तुम्हें, वो भी वही है कि एक पहले बेसिकली व्हाई वी आर यूजिंग राइट नाउ द कैंडल इज the first of the things is the lighting source was the candle, so that's the reason we are using what that word foot candle. So 1 foot candle is equal to 10.76 lumen. 1 foot candle is equal to 1076 lumen. 10.76. 1 foot candle is equal to 10.76 lumen. लिख लिया? अब फुट कैंडल टू लुमेन, लुमेन टू वॉट कैलकुलेट कर सकते हैं आप। अगर आप वॉट का पूछ रहे हैं तो यू कैन कैलकुलेट टिल लुमिनेंस। लुमेन से आप फुट कैंडल तक कैलकुलेट कर सकते हो। चलिए, HMI often used when high output is required and when recreating and augmenting sunlight shining into interior or for exterior lighting. Powerful HMI can be used to light large areas. The large areas means because when we are using large areas, you are creating a daylight, right? And we are using larger areas. Have you ever seen in films, in movies, when your character is moving from one place to another place in larger areas? Have you seen the intensity of light keep changing? कभी देखा है आपने कि light change हो गई? A fall off of light have been changed. Have you ever feel that?
No, sir.
It means that light have the larger fall off, right? Like the sunlight. If you are walking in sunlight, or either in sunlight you are on 6th floor or you are on 4th floor, have you feel the different kind of intensity? No, no. At the 6th to 1th, you feel same kind of intensity, right? Same kind of brightness. कभी दिखा है डिस्टेंस में कि सन से डिस्टेंस और इसमें ज्यादा में हैव यू फील अबाउट differences in terms of intensity? No, right? But once just be the nearby the lamp post or use some tungsten bulb inside your house, do you feel that changing or not? Just go nearby the light. Suppose I'm using here table lamp, I'm just keep going nearby the light. What happened? You can feel it, there is a light. Are you feeling it or not? कैमरे पे दिख रहा होगा कि यहाँ लाइट है कहीं पर.
Yes, sir.
You're saying it right. The reason is the fall off is not larger. But in certain areas, so if you have to create that the larger areas lighting at that point of view, you need HMI, the bigger HMI. So क्या होगा? Fall off will remain same till certain areas, right? So use for the larger space, larger areas, we are using HMI. Strength क्या? They have extremely high light output in terms of brightness, much more efficient than incandescent light. They have a high color temperature more than the 6000. So nearby the daylight. So that's the reason you can use it. Weakness, more expensive, obviously. Even the bulb भी काफी महंगे आते हैं. Lot of power, obviously. Required external blast for arc ignition. कि when it means कि अगर नहीं होगा उस पे तो you can feel flicker, right? That's the arc ignition. जो light उसमें pass होती है उस arc में. So you need a fixer. Sorry, that's called the blast. You can say that अगर आप लोगों ने वो देखा होता, long year back we are using a stabilizer to stable the frequency of light, right? We are using a stabilizer, right? कि 240 वॉट ही मिले मेरी टीवी को और फ्रिज को, इसको we are using a stabilizer. So it's not a stabilizer basically, but yeah, through blast उसको क्या था, कंटिन्यूअसली सप्लाई एक ही पावर का मिलते रहता है, एक ही फ्रीक्वेंसी का. So that's called the blast, है ना? So it make it flicker free. फ्लिकर नहीं होता है तुम्हारी लाइट. These are the lights, ARRI 18 kilowatt HMI. Hello. चलिए, see another light. Rules for using HMI units: keep the blast dry on wet ground, use apple box, rubber mats or other insulation material. अगर आपका ब्लास्ट ड्राई सरफेस पे नहीं रख सकते हैं तो यू हैव टू यूज समथिंग जो इलेक्ट्रिक का वो ना करे बेसिकली. सो एप्पल बॉक्स में द वुडन सरफेस, insulation type of materials जो इलेक्ट्रिक को वो ना करे. So that kind of things you can use it. Check the stand and blast with a meter for leakage by measuring the voltage between the stand and any ground. There will usually be a few volts, but anything above 10 to 15 volts indicate potential problems. So if you are fixing the light on a stand, because they are the metal and lohe ka hota, so that kind of things, You can check it through the meter. Agar 10 to 15 watts se zyada, if there is certain problems, maybe the problems with the earth or anything else. So there will be the electrician. Whenever you are using HMI light, there must be electrician. वो क्या करेगा? They can fix it. They will take some earth rod lega something and they just take those things. So they will check it out. कि अगर 15 watts से ज़्यादा है, it will be there is a danger basically. So they can change the light, they can change the electric conditions of wiring and take earth from somewhere. Avoid getting dirt on finger marks on the lamp. Lamp पे dirt भी नहीं होना चाहिए, ना आपके finger के prints होने चाहिए, because there's oil होता है, greasy होता है. The same things, oil from your skin will degrade the glass and create a potential failure point. Many lamp comes provided with a special cleaning cloth. Ensure that there is a good contact between the lamp base and the holder. Holder lamp में light properly लगना चाहिए. Contamination will increase resistance and impair proper cooling. Running at above rates voltage may be result in failure. Very long cable run may reduce the voltage to a point that affect the output and may result in the lamp not firing. अगर बहुत लंबा वायर आपने यूज कर लिया at that point of time, मे बी कि वो फायर ना करे, बट ऐसा होता नहीं है, इतनी दूर से कौन यूज करता है. सो द थिंग्स इज दैट, बट समहाउ देयर इज अ लिमिटेशन. ये कह रहा है इंश्योर दैट इज अ गुड कांटेक्ट बिटवीन द लैम्प बेस एंड द होल्डर. नो, नॉट दैट वन. Increase resistance and impair proper cooling. The reason is somehow we are using something to, cover it up, right? To diffuse the light, to cut the light. So you're using some black paper, chart paper, black file, anything else. Don't cover like that. Always you have to give a space for ventilation, right? तो cool कैसे होगा अगर ventilation का space नहीं दोगे? So just be careful when you are covering it, you are cutting it, there will be ample space through which there is a ventilation. कि वहां पर ventilation रहे light में. These are the M series. I will send you guys the PPT. You can read it out. M series क्या? The fluorescent, you guys got to know that this kind of Kino flow. अब Kino flow nowadays, Kino flow comes in the what? LEDs, right? So KinoFlow, why its name? The KinoFlow is the person who invented it. So there will be in KinoFlow, there is a daylight balance, there is a tungsten balance. दोनों आते थे. You have to change it. तुम्हें change करना पड़ेगा in terms of tube light. So you can see over here, there is a blue one, right? Blue है tube पे, so it indicate daylight balance light. You didn't need to switch it on and check it out. अच्छा light white दे रहा है, warm दे रहा है, right? If there's a tungsten balance, ये blue नहीं होगा, it will be warm, yellow color का हो जाएगा. The tube light has the yellow was, right? So through tube, you can judge it out as the tungsten or daylight. So according to your uses, you can change it. If you want to fix a daylight, sorry, tungsten over here, you have to change the light. But nowadays in KinoFlow, you have to only change the color temperature. Change the color temperature, you got the warmer, you change the color temperature, you will get it cooler. So that's the fluorescent. That LED light that we are using, समझ ही रहे हो वो सब. Sky panel, this one is this LED के ही उसमें आता है. Diffuser. They are the brand, the Aperture 600D and that kind of light जो अभी चल रहा है. So it comes in the daylight balance, tungsten balance. अभी तो ये daylight balance है. The many LEDs comes with the both bicolor, the daylight and tungsten both. So I think it's better to just read it once for the every light. There's a many lights, but these are the the popular light basically that people are using nowadays. So you guys can read it out.
So tungsten, fluorescent, HMI, and LED. These are the lamps now.
Yeah, these are the lamp. No? Fluorescent means so what? Fluorescent is basically your like the 4200 kind of things, no? That the tube light that your household tube light is, no? Tungsten that the filament, which light have the filament or tungsten? That is your tungsten, LED, and your HMI.
Among this, HMI is the closest to the daylight
Yeah,
temperature.
HMI is many light is closest to many now nowadays in LEDs, no? LED comes in bicolor even in the daylight also. LEDs. But what that what I mentioned over here, if we have to make that patch of light or beam of light through LED, it won't possible, right? You have to use the HMI lights. ये किसका है?
That's mine, sir.
That's your Aditya.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Lighting approach for night for day. Position the light that act as a substitute for sunlight at the angle at which the sunlight usually falls into the room. House studied that the angle of sunlight during the day, analyze the angle and intensity at which it falls, and also where in the room, house, in flat. This can help later in recreating the day using light. That's okay. But Aditya, what you can do now, you just take an example of it. Right? Example in the sense you just create a scene that you are using this light inside your home, house, and what will be the time, right? So according to time, right, there will be the shadows because there's a different kind of shadows according to time, right? If early in the morning, which kind of shadows? If you have to create daytime, which kind of shadows, right? So you can explain those things also. Make sure to have light that have the desired amount of temperature for the shot. Because light of light, the desired amount of temperature for the shot. For example, if the scene is taking place on a summer evening, you would want to use a warm light. But if scene is taking place on a winter morning, you would want to use cool light, 8,500. But it's not. Daylight is a 6,500, 6,500, not the 8,000, 8,500. Try to avoid shooting the outside of the room through windows or doors because, yeah, that's good. It would be difficult to set up and hide the lighting accordingly, right? This would cause you to tamper with your lighting, which would mess up the fixed lighting and give away the natural look. Record and write down the position of the light, the intensity and the temperature at which it is set, the angle at which it is placed. It is so that you will not lose the continuity of this scene, even if some setting or position option, right? Good. If the lighting isn't enough, you can manipulate to the extend the ISO and white balance. Okay, that okay. Somehow it's good. Now, in terms of approach, now the first things is you must have to explain why it should look like daytime, right? So first things कि आपने position use किया, whatever word that you used कि positioning room and house ना, this is the one element that every time if they ask for the daytime anything else ना, कि daytime हम recognize क्या करते हैं because of the less contrast, right? So you can explain like that. We have to create less contrast, so you use more amount of light, right? In terms of key and fill, when you for the daytime there will be the patch of sunlight or the beam of light, so on wall you can create a beam of light or patch of light that will feel like the sunlight, right? So you can replicate those things. कि sunlight को replicate करें तो कैसे आता है ये, right? So what happened? Sorry. But take a point. Okay. Another one. ये आपने भेजा? अरे ये लंबा है. Sure, no? और किसने भेजा यही वाला आंसर? Yeah, the lighting approach.
I have so Vasudha.
Cinema influenced by lighting for 1 second. Vasudha, 1 second. और किसी ने भेजा?
Yes, sir, I've mailed you the answer.
You mailed me the answer. Yeah. You mailed me. I got that. 1 second. Yeah, you do you want. You mailed me answer. I got that. Which answer you got? Then this one is yours, right? This one?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Shooting night for day scene can be challenging, but also creative rewarding. Here are a few points I would consider as a cinematographer. Lighting techniques: use artificial light surgically to mimic natural daylight. Good soft source like diffused LED panels or large HMI light can emulate the softer quality of daylight. But how the things is that how HMI can produce softer? You have to make those lights softer, right? You have to make it softer because HMI quality is harder and LED is softer. So you have to create those things. You have to mention those things. HMI to use करेंगे, but HMI for what? To create a pattern, to create a hard shadows or whatever it, right? A beam of light or patch of light. Avoid harsh shadows to maintain the illusion of daylight. White balance adjustment. Set the camera's white balance to a. देखो यहाँ जो आपने use किया avoid harsh shadows to maintain the illusion of daylight. Now the daylight have the harsh light, but because through the windows it's falling, through the curtains it's coming inside the room, so the nature of light becomes soft, right? That's the things, ना? अगर normal sunlight सीधा आएगा तो क्या होगा? There will be hard shadows.
Yes, sir.
Maybe you
Yes, sir.
can actually, if there is a cloudy day, if there is that kind of things, overcast day, and that, so you have to mention those elements. Which kind of day is there? Which kind of, color or which kind, not the color in terms of कि अभी position of sun or
Mhm.
light क्या है, quality क्या है, is it hard or soft?
Yes, sir. There's a little mistake over there. Moonlight की
Yeah,
daylight की जगह moonlight डाल.
yeah. वो मैंने पढ़ लिया था. Camera filter employing CTV filter or gels over light can add the adjustment to light to color temperature. Okay, ठीक है, making it appear more like daylight. There is density filter, halt, balance exposure between the sky and ground. ठीक है. Scene composition blocking, arrange the scene to work with the available light source, position actor and object in ways that maximize the artificial lights effectively in creating the desired illusion of daylight. ठीक है. Pay attention to detail like shadows to maintain the scene appearance consistently. ठीक है. सही point है ये. Consisting the normal day, sun rotate over the axis of the earth, which result in different shadows and fall of light from different directions. So shooting night for a day will be good advantage as we will not be bonded by the position of the sun and the direction of the light fall, which we can change according to the scene and doesn't need to worry about the change in position. That's a good point. That's a
Thank you,
good
sir.
point. One advantage of these things is because once you start shooting in sunlight, there's only two dialogues or three dialogues. What happens? Sun keep changing axis. So once in OTS shot, 1% for the key light from this side, now it's become the flat front light, right? हो जाता है because it takes time for dialogues retake. So that's a good observation that you have written over there.
Thank you, sir.
One second. Yeah, so that's your to influence every class of society at the same time. It's also it influence by society. Explain, giving an example of any movie that you watched. Chalo. Cinema has always been one of the few traditional medium of mass communication. It is considered one of the most powerful channels to influence its audience while entertaining them through storytelling and captivating. Well, visuals, the story it tells comes from the society itself and create a mirror that helps one look into themselves and the social values they live with. The influences while being exactly like the society, highlighting irony, inspiring and resolving conflict or interesting problem in the social The film, past director Alina Yadav and director Basilka, can understand that the story is set in the Orthodox village in Rajasthan and paints a picture of the village patriarchal setup. It's a mirror image of what is still followed in many parts of rural India where there's been a violation. There's no conversation about what women want. Sexuality is the right of just a man and much more. The film creates the whole inspired by reality. At the same time, it presents the whole story from a female perspective and gaze while pointing out flaws. It makes sure not glamorous text among directional and hence tries to influence the society by keeping a woman's perspective forward. The film pencil, writing pictures and touches one point of pain that the female characters of the film go through this. Fighting for love, fighting back against domestic violence, questioning and on a space number, the film being exactly like. हाँ जो लास्ट लाइन क्या आपका द फिल्म while being exactly like reality draws in audiences and then makes them see what is wrong with this reality in hopes of influencing it for the better and helping one live with takeaways and food for thought. Yeah. अभी ने एग्जाम्पल अच्छा उठाया. इसमें ना थोड़ा और आप क्या कर सकते थे यू कैन राइट इट बिट मोर ऑन ये लाइन जो था ना सिनेमा इन्फ्लुएंस एवरी क्लास ऑफ सोसाइटी राइट. तो यहाँ पर आपने बहुत कम पॉइंट दिया ना व्हाट वाज द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ दिस फिल्म ऑन सोसाइटी राइट. इससे क्या हुआ है व्हाट वाज द इम्पैक्ट. इसको बहुत कम लाइन दिया है ना आपने. आपने फिल्म के बारे में बताया बट इससे क्या हुआ हमारे इन टर्म्स ऑफ हमारे सोसाइटीज में इससे क्या चेंजेस इन टर्म्स ऑफ पर्सपेक्टिव एंड व्हाट राइट. इसके
Right,
लाइंस
sir.
को इसको आप थोड़ा और बढ़ा सकते थे ना.
Okay, sir.
बिकॉज
Yes.
बिकॉज बिकॉज ये जो लाइन है ना आप ऊपर के क्वेश्चन देखो बोथ हैव द सेम वेट इसलिए दोनों लाइन दिया गया है सिनेमा इन्फ्लुएंस एवरी क्लास ऑफ सोसाइटी एट द सेम टाइम इट आल्सो गेट इन्फ्लुएंस बाय सोसाइटी. तो आपने ज्यादा किस पे लिख दिया है गेट्स इन्फ्लुएंस बाय सोसाइटी राइट. आपको लग रहा है इसमें उसको आपने ज्यादा वो दिया है
Right, sir.
वर्ड्स
Yes,
दिया
sir.
है राइट.
Yes,
तो
sir.
वो बैलेंस होना चाहिए इफ देयर इज अ कंपैरिजन इट मस्ट बी बैलेंस. तो वो आपके थिंकिंग के और आपके लिखने के तरीकों को उससे वो जज करता है किसी एक पक्ष को ज्यादा तो नहीं दे रहा है ना. कि
Okay,
दोनों
sir.
साइड आपके वर्ड्स वो चीजें लगभग आप ये नहीं करो 500 वर्ड्स बट समहाउ वो लगे कि दोनों को टच किया. बट फिल्म काफी अच्छा चूज किया तुमने.
Thank you, sir.
So to create day setup during the night, the following creating the sun. ठीक है. Now guys, what अभी इसने क्या किया है क्या. हाँ वसुधा ने जो लिखा है since I think starting I'm just keep asking when you are writing your answer write it in points. अब इसने बहुत दिनों बाद ये काम किया बट पॉइंट्स में लिखोगे. मैं ऑब्वियसली बता भी तुम खुद देख लो इसको पूरा पढ़ो मत जस्ट रीड द पॉइंट्स. क्या लग रहा है तुम्हें लग रहा है ना कुछ बहुत लिखा हुआ है. यू फील दैट ना तुमने इतना वर्ड ही लिखा होगा वॉट एवर राइट. आई थिंक आदित्य हैव रिटन ओवर देयर शिवम आपने लिखा है राइट. इतने ही वर्ड में लिखा होगा ना. बट
Yes.
अगर हाईलाइट कर दोगे इन टर्म्स ऑफ पॉइंटर डेफिनेटली 5 मार्क्स है 10 मार्क्स है पॉइंटर्स के यू विल डेफिनेटली विल गेट द मार्क्स फॉर द पॉइंटर. डेफिनेटली अंदर फिर दिखने के बाद जो देगा दैट्स अनदर थिंग्स बट ट्राई टू राइट इन पॉइंटर्स. इसने ज्यादा पॉइंट्स दे दिए हैं जो एक दो में ही आ सकते थे तीन में आ सकते थे बट ठीक है दैट्स ओके. बट एवरी टाइम वंस यू आर एक्सप्लेनिंग इन टर्म्स ऑफ सब्जेक्टिव राइट हमेशा कोशिश करो कि पॉइंटर में आंसर दो. एवरी टाइम जस्ट ट्राई टू राइट इन पॉइंटर्स है ना. तो क्या तुम्हारा पहला वन क्रिएटिंग द सन इल्यूमिनेटिंग द places from where light can naturally come into room. This includes windows, ventilators, creaks of a door, etc. High power light set to the what temperature that can resemble natural sunlight shall be. No, warm कैसे होगा color temperature? थोड़ा cool होगा ना color temperature. Warm means what? Tungsten ना बाबा. Warm
Right,
means
sir. Right. Daylight, basically.
daylight is the cool light ना.
Right, sir.
White होता है ना. Avoiding, you always try keeping the source of light and the sky out of the shots. Take care. Spreading light like the sky. The main light outside the windows can have reflected softbox to spread it more and make the impact brighter, right? Using windows, if window have to be in the shot, the light can be placed behind something like trees to create a look of the sun behind the trees, helping to hide the light setup, or the windows can be covered with translucent curtains, helping conceal the outside from the frame while letting light. So it could be, you can add on one word. No? So windows could looks like burning out. The sunlight में हमारे white curtains वो लगते हैं ना, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Overexposed
sir.
or burning out. You can create
Mm-hmm.
that things. Balancing shadows, bouncing material or softer light can be used to in the subject to balance the contrast. Fill in shadows and create a well-lit daylight room look. ठीक है ये. This fill lights might can be cooler temperature to balance the warmth of the light. इसको थोड़ा ठीक करना पड़ेगा. Adding details. Shapes can be used to cut the light and form patches of sunlight. Good. Falling naturally at the place. ये सही है. Cinematic hedgy look. Hedge can be used to create a softer morning look, and diffuse or different patterns. Cloth can be used to create shadows pattern and sunlight sievering in through such materials. ठीक है. ठीक है, वो जो आपने ब्लू और वार्म लाइट का वो किया है ना, जस्ट चेंज इट.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
डे लाइट. और किसी ने डे फॉर नाइट पे भेजा? एनीवन एल्स? नहीं भेजा. बाईपास पे किसी एक पर्सन ने मुझे भेजा था. वो एक सेकंड. बीच में से व्हाट विल यू अप्रोच हाउ टू द हाई लो फिल्म राइटिंग असाइनमेंट हो गया. एक सेकंड. लाइटिंग नाइट फॉर द क्वेश्चन आंसर थे सिमेट्रिकल. ओके. एक और है किसी का. वन सेकंड. Who sent this image? Aditya, you? It's you?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. As for symmetrical balance, okay. Okay. So yeah, it's good for the symmetrical balance. Because both sides the same visual weight that the both side have. Oh, what? Uh, I think it's my laptop fault, or either your image is literally in the left and right is darker, or either there is a certain texture.
No, sir, it's darker.
It's darker. So you can do one thing. Now, if it's dark, now, don't take too much space, don't take too much. So it's called the negative areas basically. If it's the too much dark, there's no that kind of, texture at all. So you can take these things, this line only. A less area of darker, right? And every time, either you are shooting day or either you are shooting night, right? Remember one thing. Always your foreground and background should be lit up. Your background and foreground should be lit up. It's not look darker. Either it's day or either it's night. Because once there's a light in foreground and once there's a light in background, it will create sense of depth. If your foreground is too dark or background is darker, so in between there is a something. So it will not create that kind of sense and that kind of depth, basically. Sense of depth, basically. Right. So you can take less area so that will create certain plane, okay, shadows and highlights, but not that much. Again, take your chair. You shoot it in where? Whether in some mall or
Sir, it was an art exhibition. So,
art exhibition. Yeah. Do you have the other pictures in which you just exposed those photographs?
sir,
The
this
in
vast
background, is
photo,
it photograph? What it is? Is it LED or what it is?
yeah, it's an LED TV. So the hall was literally dark. Just the LEDs
Yeah,
was
yeah.
popping out.
That's why I'm asking. Have you clicked it in which you just set your exposure for that LEDs only?
Yes, sir.
Just merge those images and see to it if you click it. And for yourself, just see to it how it looks.
Okay,
Just
sir.
merge these images. Choose that exposed background. See to it. She's using phone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, nice. So guys, why it's look balanced? I'll just explain you. The reason is she is not in center, right? She is off center. That's why it's balanced. Because in आप center से देखोगे तो क्या हो रहा है? So half of the areas have the two television, right? And the right side have only one, right? अगर आप 50-50 स्क्रीन डिवाइड करोगे यही हो रहा है, यही हो रहा है ना? In half of the area on the second from the left hand, right? क्या हो रहा है? Two television on left hand side, more or somehow ये कटेगा काटोगे थोड़ा सा. So that's the reason the character is longer and on her face she is wearing mask and that's a white and creates certain texture of the hand. Hand का एक certain angle बन रहा है. So somehow in visually is it looking like that कि it's visually weight is balanced. Is it looking or not? Visually balanced लग रहा है ये? Unbalanced लगता है if she will be nearby the second TV from the left hand side, right? So क्या होता है left side का visual weight will be higher. Now क्या हो रहा है left and right visual weight is somehow it's similar. So you can say it is a balanced frame, it's a balanced composition. So I think one or two PPT have left. किसी ने मुझे उसका भेजा था एक सेकेंड. हाँ 1 सेकेंड क्या भेजा हुआ है. कलर वाला बच गया सबका और एक विजुअल वेट भेज दिया है. दवाई पास हो गया विजुअल. तो बाईपास एक बार पढ़ ही लेते हैं, चलो. बाईपास से किसने भेजा था?
सर मैंने भी भेजा हुआ है, रणवीर।
ये किसका है? आदित्य आपने भेजा है?
Yes, sir. That's mine.
ओके. तो दोनों का अभी डिस्कस करूंगा तो टाइम ना मैं कहाँ गए. चलो कर लेते हैं. लेट्स सी. Since the movie was entirely shot in exterior in desert area, the lighting was all practical. It felt like even in the small literally in the middle of the desert, they only used practical lighting because there were many cracks in the walls of the tree for the light to fall in. This gives the realistic desert look to the movie. The texture of the desert could be captured more efficiently. The movie is entirely shot on wide lenses. This made the many scenes as the distortion are visible in the frame. This was used to show the desert landscape effectively and the action that take place with the character. The character except the two women in the movie, except the woman that comes at the end, wear a pale of dark colored dress and they all showcase dark character. Meanwhile, the two women wear vibrant color and a red dress with design over them as they are only one who are innocent. Okay, there's a good point. When Irfan Khan police character interrupt an when character and take away all his money, the police officer is not dominating the frame. He is stand tall and occupied the center of the frame. medium three shot, but as the bandit friend strike the police officer's head with rock, the mute is on dominating the frame as he has registered their power. Okay, ये भी सही है. The story is that was good. The story is conveyed through the props used in movie because the movie doesn't have dialogue. The story has many important props like gas and the watch. The bandit is still the knife which used to killing the Rihanna, the stone used to throw at the cars and kill the cops. The cops' sunglasses, which is sign of the power. It is as shown in the movie. No, look, it's not the last line. You are emphasizing the properties, right? But what's the meaning of that properties, right? And how, in terms of cinematography, it's evolved. कि in terms of cinematography कैसे था. ठीक है, properties एक आपने use किया, you order was sunglasses for the power and at all, right? You use that the camera angle for the power and at all. But in terms of cinematography, in terms of framing, right? कि क्या कहाँ पर है, right? So that you can discuss. और थोड़ा सा और लंबा हो सकता था. When you started with, the there's a no dialogues at all. The reason is there is a no dialogues at all because every person who is in this film, his behavior is for the animal kind of things, right? Animal behavior है ना, creatures behaviors है, right? In this film, every
Yes, sir.
character have. यही है ना?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever seen the animal talks?
No,
नहीं
sir.
करते ना? So that's the reason there is a no dialogues because everyone behavior like that. Even the name of the film is a bypass. Bypasses means when there is a shortcut of when you are using from the going from the highway, so you took the bypass to that's called the shortcut basically, right? So how the name and like जो फिल्म का नाम है वो तो नॉर्मल ऐसे भी है मेटाफोरिकल भी. क्या हो रहा है, सेट हो रहा है ना बाईपास बिकॉज दैट कपल गेट रॉन्ग टर्न, राइट? गलत टर्न लिया था ना. एंड ऑल्सो द बाईपास इज द शॉर्टकट बिकॉज एवरीवन वांटेड टू do crime and take money and at all, right? That's also the shortcut. So bypass का metaphor भी है, realistic meaning भी है. So there's a many more things. You have to watch it again and again, and you can see in the 18 minutes films how many points is there. है ना, metaphor भी है और ये भी है with how they used it, right? In terms of framing, frame within the frame, the low angle shots. Just see to it, watch it again. और किसने भेजा था?
सर रणवीर मैंने.
कब भेजा था रणवीर आपने?
सर मैंने कल कल भेजा था.
कल भेजा था. तो रणवीर अभी क्या हो रहा है कि ये ना 10 हो रहा है. सो मैं एक काम करूंगा रणवीर, जिस बाय 10:30 टुडे ना,
ओके सर.
जस्ट ड्रॉप मी टेक्स्ट, ओके? मैं आपको पर्सनली वो बता दूंगा उसमें. ठीक है.
ओके
सो
सर.
टिल नाउ एनीवन वांटेड टू आस्क एनीथिंग, जस्ट आस्क मी. कुछ भी पूछना है तो. और वन मोर थिंग, मैं ग्रुप में आई विल सेंड यू द टू क्वेश्चंस इन टर्म्स ऑफ सिनेमेटोग्राफी, यू हैव टू एक्सप्लेन दोस थिंग्स. दो क्वेश्चन में भेजूंगा इन टर्म्स ऑफ सब्जेक्टिव. ठीक है, जो आपको फॉर द नेक्स्ट वीक मे बी द मंडे ट्यूसडे you have to write it down and send it to me. बट अभी भी आप लोगों में से जो नहीं लिख रहे हैं और नहीं लिखना चाह रहे, इट्स ऑल अप टू यू गाइस. द रीजन व्हाई वी आर एक्सप्लेनिंग दोज थिंग्स ओवर हियर, किसी का लिखा हुआ यहाँ क्यों कह रहे हैं मैं उसको बता देता हूँ. द रीजन इज if you watch that film, like suppose for example for the bypass, right? Aditya had the 3 or 4 points. That was the valid points. At the same point of time, if I will explain the Ranveer point of view, maybe he has something 2 or 3 different points. So if there's a 5 or 6 people, so at least you guys have the three different points for one films. You guys have 20 points for a film because you don't have that much of time. इतना time नहीं है कि पूरी film खुद पे read करोगे. So at least you guys have the 20 points. तो कहीं ना कहीं कुछ ना कुछ याद रहेगा. You guys can write it down. So that's the reason. फिल्म की स्क्रीनिंग भी इसीलिए होती है कि इन ग्रुप यू गाइस कैन वॉच दैट थिंग्स एंड यू कैन डिस्कस ऑन फिल्म्स. नहीं तो फिल्म तो अकेले भी देख सकते हो. तो दैट्स द रीजन. अगर लिखते हो तो देयर विल बी सम वैलिड पॉइंट्स, 2 or 3 or 4 पॉइंट्स. तो सबको एड ऑन करके यू हैव सर्टेन द इंफॉर्मेशन अबाउट द फिल्म्स. That's the reason I'm discussing over here. Otherwise, I have 1 or 2 films, 2 or 3 films that I will discuss over here. That's it. वो मैं डिस्कस कर लूंगा फिर, ठीक है, फिर you guys can write it your own. आप खुद ही लिखिए. That's much better. है ना? So that's the things. So for the next week, I will sharing you 2 questions and 300 words. Okay. और किसी ने कुछ मुझे भेजा होगा, मे बी इट विल लेफ्ट. सो बाय 10:30 टुडे आप मुझे पिंग कर दीजिए और वो चीज मेरे व्हाट्सएप पे भेज दीजिए. आई विल डिस्कस. ओके. मैं टेक्स्ट ही करूंगा बट मैं डिस्कस कर लूंगा. ठीक है.
सर कंटेम्प्ट भी बची हुई है.
कंटेम्प्ट आपने भेजा था मुझे.
यस सर.
आपने कंटेम्प्ट भेजा था. अच्छा, जिस जिसका जो भी डिस्कस नहीं हुआ है ना, यू गाइस कैन सेंड इट टू मी ना.
ओके
उसको
सर.
मैं अगर क्लास में नहीं हुआ पर्सनली आई विल डिस्कस, बिकॉज कंटेम्प्ट मैंने भी डिस्कस नहीं किया है. बिकॉज आई वॉन्टेड टू सेंड कि सब एक बार भेज दोगे तो उसके बाद मैं पूरी, ताकि फिल्म तो कम से कम सब देख ले एक बार. सब ये बता दो एवरीवन हैव वॉच दोस फिल्म्स. तो नेक्स्ट वीक मैं फिर कंटेंट ही डिस्कस करूंगा. बट मैं ये चाह रहा था पहले सब देख तो लो. आई थिंक आदित्य यू गॉट दैट फिल्म.
Yes, sir.
हाँ, तो अगर किसी को नहीं मिला है जस्ट जस्ट लेट मी नो. आई हैव द लिंक. मैं भेज दूंगा. अगर किसी को भी नहीं मिला है कंटेंट अभी बता दीजिए, मैं भेज दूंगा आप लोगों को. ठीक है.
Sir, I have written the analysis.
ओके.
Sir, I have one doubt.
या लेट मी.
Sir, could you explain that previous year question about that yellow filter used in a particular scene?
यस
ये लो
सर.
फिर you didn't get the answer. अभी नहीं मिला है.
There are some
I
doubts,
will
sir.
send the answer. I will send the answer. Is it okay?
Sure, sir.
यस सर.
हाँ, मैं ग्रुप में आंसर सेंड कर दूं आप लोगों को. बिकॉज इट्स 9:10 आई हैव टू गो समवेयर. सो मैं ये डिस्कस कर लेता. मैं आंसर भेज देता हूँ उसका. ये ठीक है.
Yeah, that's fine, sir.
Just give me 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, I'll send you the answer. By 10:15, I'll send it to you guys.
सर कैन यू शेयर द पीपीटी ऑल्सो, द लाइट वन?
This one, no?
यस सर.
This one. आज वाला ना.
यस आज
ठीक
वन.
ठीक है मैं करता हूँ. And also I'll share you 50 MCQ. ट्राई टू सॉल्व इट, डोंट कॉपी इट. पहले खुद से सॉल्व करो, गिव मार्क्स योरसेल्फ कितना आया, और बिल्कुल जेन्यून बन के मुझे बताओ कि मार्क्स कितने आए. 50 MCQ आई एम जस्ट सेंडिंग यू. मैं आज तक भेज दूंगा. जस्ट एग्जामिन योरसेल्फ कितना मार्क्स आया ट्रूली. सिर्फ ग्रुप में यहाँ नहीं बताना, मुझे लिख दोगे हाउ मच मार्क्स यू गेट. ठीक है.
ओके सर.
50 क्वेश्चंस वो भी मैं भेज रहा हूँ आप लोग. ठीक है. ओके डियर. अरे गुड नाइट. थैंक यू.
Good
थैंक यू
night.
सर. गुड नाइट.
थैंक यू.
Thank you.
थैंक
Thank
यू.
you, sir.
थैंक यू.